Hey guys, Mr. K here. This will be part one of our study guide video for our test Wednesday and Thursday. Again, remember you can start and stop this video anytime you want, or you can move forward to get to the question you need help with. Number one, a circle below is divided into 8 equal pieces. What's the ratio of brown pieces to red and yellow pieces? I do my word statement first. Brown pieces to yellow and red pieces. That means I'm going to add the yellow and red together. There are 3 brown pieces and there are 2 yellow pieces and 2 red pieces. That means that I have 3/4. And there's my answer. Number 2, the probability of an event. Remember, when we are changing decimals to fractions, there are 3 steps. Say it, write it, and then if needed, simplify. And I'm going to write if needed. Okay? If needed, because if these answers aren't simplified, then you don't need to worry about it. So the first thing I'm going to do is say it. 0.14 as a fraction is 14/100ths. Remember, ones place, tens place, hundredths place. So that's 14/100ths. Then I'm going to write it. 14/100ths. Well, that looks familiar. There's the answer to number 2. Okay, number 3 says, in a club of 60 students, there are 32 males. What's the ratio of females to males? So, let me remind you that there are 3 different kinds of ratios. Part to part, part to whole, and whole to part. I abbreviated that. Write the words down in your own notebook if you need to. Part to whole, whole to part. Those are the 3 different kinds of ratios. So, the first question says, there are 32 males, and I want to know how many females there are. That's going to be a part-to-part question. However, in the first statement, I have whole to part. So I have to change that around to be a part-to-part. I want males to females. So I know that there are 32 males, so that's going to go in first. I don't know how many, I'm sorry, I did that wrong, my apologies. I want to know the ratio of females to males. So I'm going to write F/M. And again, I know the males are 32, so I'm going to put that on the bottom. Okay? I don't know how many women there are, but I do know there's 60 total, because that's the whole, and I know there are 32 guys. So if I subtract that, it tells me how many, gosh, this is the problem I will never get correct. So this is going to be our men, this is going to be our women. So I'm going to take the 28 and I'm going to put it on top of the 32. Now I have to simplify, because remember, step 3 from the say it, write it, simplify it, I always have to simplify, even if it doesn't say I need to. So I'm going to divide this by how much, and I'm going to divide this by how much. Well, I'm going to try a 4, because I know if I divide both sides by 4, 28 divided by 4 is 7, 32 divided by 4 is 8. And there will be my final answer, 7/8. And there's your answer for number 3. Number 4 says the probability of an event is 3/5. What is the probability expressed as a decimal? This is the exact opposite of question number 2. So now I'm going to make a decimal out of a ratio. So the other way to write 3/5 is to write 3/5. Now I have to make that part of 100, because I'm looking at a decimal in the hundredths place. 0.35, 0.53, 0.30, 0.60. So that's hundredths. 5 times what equals 100? So in order to make that equal, I have to multiply 3 by 20. That gives me 60 100ths, or 0.60. Now you've got the first 4 answers. Go back and look at those again if necessary. Let me go to number 5 and 6. Number 5 says a cereal company advertises 4 out of 10 boxes, yada, yada, yada. Let me remind you, there is part to part to whole, and whole to part. This is one of those questions where what the information you know is a part to whole. This is what we know. 4 out of every 10 boxes have prizes, okay? But the question asks for a ratio of boxes with prizes to boxes with no prizes. That is a part-to-part ratio. So now I have to take the part that I know, that's how many boxes have prizes, how many don't? Well, if there's 10 total and 4 have prizes, that means 6 of them don't have prizes. You have to remember the 3 different kinds of ratios. Then you have to remember how to simplify, and then you get your correct answer. Number 6 talks about collecting cards. What is the ratio of basketball cards to baseball cards? The 12 will go on top, the 75 will go on the bottom. Okay? I notice none of these answers are 12 over 75. Why? Because you have to simplify. So, I know after looking at a deuce or a 2, they're not both even numbers. So I'm going to try to divide both of these by 3 because that's my next prime number. That gives me a 4 and a 25, which gives me my answer. Pause that, and if you haven't seen it, you'll figure it out. Question number 7. Come on, man. Question number 7. Gets us to a car traveling 420 miles in 7 hours. What is the average rate in miles per hour? We're going to go through the 5-step process. First step, word statement, miles per hour. Second step, write what you know. I know I can go 420 miles in 7 hours. Third step, write what you want to know. I want to know the rate. He goes, how many miles per hour? And remember that word per means 1. Now I've got myself set up and I'm ready for step number 4. Step number 4 is to cross multiply. So I'm going to take the numerator and the denominator and I'm going to multiply them together. And then this numerator times that denominator and multiply those together. Step 5, divide by the number in front of x. Always divide by the number in front of x on both sides. Why? Because when we divide by the same number, they eliminate each other. And that way I can figure out what x equals, which is what I'm trying to do. So 7 into 42 is 6, 7 into 0. And there's my miles per hour and my answer. Next, kind of on the same order, I got max traveling, miles per hour. How many miles per hour? And I want to know, if I go 315 miles, how many hours will it take? Same story, different questions. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Word statement, write what you know, write what you want to know. I put an H here instead of an X, sorry about that. We'll leave it an H, okay? 1 times 315 is 315. 45 times H is 45H. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 45. These 45s cancel, and the hours are going to equal 315 divided by 45. When you do your division, there you go. Takes 7 hours if I'm going 45 miles per hour. Number 9 says, Mrs. Green purchased 25 posters for a price. That means I'm paying dollars for posters. Again, step 1, word statement. Step 2, write what you know. $47.63 for 25 posters. I want to know what the price is for 1 poster. Now I've set up my proportion and I can move on to step 4, which is to cross multiply. So let me slow down for a few of you and remind you. Step 1, word statement. Step 2, write what you know. Step 3, write what you want to know. Step 4, cross multiply. Step 5, divide by the number in front of the x. 25 times x equals 25x. 1 times 4763, 4763. Divide both sides by what's in front of the x. And there you have it. To find out the price of 1 poster, I need to divide 4763 divided by 25. I'm going to do that for you now with my trusty calculator. And I'm going to get 1.9052. Now, in our money system in the United States, we know that we only have 2 values behind the decimal. So I need the 1, I need the 9, and I got to decide about the 0. Do I keep it 0 or do I raise it up 1? Well, remember, underline what you are trying to round, circle the number next to it, and drop off anything behind it. 5 or more, raise the score. So the actual answer is $1.91. If this was a 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0, the answer would be $1.90. Some of you missed that by a penny, and you've got to make sure and round to the right number. Okay? Number 10, we're actually buying apples and bananas. So you're going to have 2 word statements. Dollars per apple and dollars for bananas. I'm going to write how much I paid for 5 apples and how much I paid for 6 bananas. And both of those are going to be equal to what I'm looking for. I want to buy 2 apples, I want to buy 2 bananas. That means my x is going on top of both of those. So if I want to do both, I'm eventually going to add both of these. So 2 times 250 is $5, and that's going to be 5x. And 2 times $1.20 is $2.40, and that would be a 6x. If I divide by 5, I spent $1 here. And if I divide by 6, I spent 40 cents here. Therefore, my total amount that I've spent is $1.40. Hope that makes sense. Stop and pause that if it didn't make sense for you. Okay? That's what it's going to cost me to buy 2 of each of those. All right. If that's a problem, ask me tomorrow, please, before your test. Next, number 11 and 12. A 3-ounce box costs this, a 6-ounce box costs that. What's the difference? I'm going to do that the same way we just did it for the apples and bananas. I have $1 per ounce and $1 per ounce because there's 2 different sizes. I pay 51 cents for 3 ounces. I pay $1.14 for 6 ounces. I gotta figure out how much I'm paying per ounce and how much I'm paying per ounce. And then I gotta subtract the 2, okay? When I do 3x equals 0.51, x is going to equal 17 cents. When I do that over here, I'm gonna have 6x equaling $1.14, or x equaling 19 cents, okay? The difference between 19 and 17 is 2 cents, which is your answer. Stop and start that if you don't understand, because there will be a question like that on the test. Sam bought a dozen donuts for a price. That means dollars per donut. And I'm spending $5.16 for how many donuts? Not 1, but 12. And I want to know the price of 1, which means 12x is going to be equal to $5.16. Or, if I divide both sides by 12, this goes away, and x is going to equal whatever 12 goes into 5/16, which is going to be 0.43. 43 cents per donut. Start and stop that if need be. Ask me a question tomorrow if that didn't make sense. Last one for this particular session will be number 13 and 14. The race car question came up in classes today. Laps per hour. I can do 8 laps in 1/5 an hour. I want to know 1 lap is going to be how many hours? That means that 8x is going to be equal to 1/5, which means I'm going to divide by 8 and divide by 8. Those cross each other out. X is going to be equal to, and I'm going to write this horizontally, 1/5 divided by 8, because that's what that bar means, division. So remember to do a fraction that I have to do. Keep, change, and flip. KCF, or flipping chickens, because remember KFC is chickens. You got to remember that. If that's the way to remember it, great. If it's not, remember those 3 letters. Okay? So now I'm going to do 1/5 divided by 8 over 1. I make that look like a fraction so that I can keep the first fraction, change the sign to the opposite, and then flip the second fraction. Multiply straight across, and that gives you the answer for number 14. Pause that if needed. For number 14, Jeremiah can run 6 miles in 45 minutes. Miles per minute. I can run 6 miles in 45 minutes. I want to know how long does it take him to run 1 mile. Once again, 6x equals 45. I'm going to divide both sides by 6. The 6's cancel, and I'm going to do 45/6, which if you do on your own is going to be 1.5, 7.5, or 7.5. Notice there's a 7 on each one of these. I got to figure out how many seconds is a half. Well, how many seconds in half a minute? Boom! That would be the correct answer. All right, guys. I will come back and do a second video for the last 16 questions.